Hello everyone, hope you're well. I wanted to continue on my legend series, and like I said yesterday, I wanted to put this video yesterday for South Africa's Freedom Day. I wanted to give Eddie Barlow, one of the leading all-rounders in the 1960s. His full name was Edgar John Barlow, and he was born 12th August 1940 in Pretoria in the Transvaal province of South Africa. And he was one of the players of that excellent team of South Africa in that 1969-70 series that whitewashed Australia 4-0, the Australian team under Bill Lawry. And he played 30 test matches for South Africa, and he scored 2,516 runs, and his average was 45.74, and he scored 600s, and his highest score was 201, which came against Australia at Adelaide in 1963-64. And he took also 40 wickets in Test cricket. And in first class cricket, he scored more than 18,000 runs, and he scored 43 hundreds, and he also took 571 wickets with 16 5-wicket hauls and 2 10-wicket hauls. And he played a lot for Derbyshire as well in the county championship and took them to the finals in the 1978 season at Lord's. And in 1963-64, Eddie Barlow became the first South African to score a Test 100 in his first match against Australia. And in that series, he scored a staggering 603 runs, and he also scored that double century at Adelaide. And Eddie Barlow famously did play with specs, with the glasses. He was one of the few players who played with the glasses. And he was part of that 1969-70 South African team that would have become one of the greatest teams in the history of cricket. If not, they weren't stopped by the apartheid thing, and they were the ban that came on South Africa. But even with that, I mean, that 69-70, that South African team is regarded as one of the best cricket teams in the history of cricket. It had Graham Pollock, Barry Richards, Peter Pollock, Mike Proctor, Eddie Barlow, even Hugh Tayfield, and there were a lot of Ali Barker was there, Dudley Nurse, so many great players. And it's kind of sad how South Africa lost a lot of great players. I mean, even Clive Rice, people will probably remember Clive Rice, who was the captain when South Africa came back to cricket in 1991. He captained South Africa in that 3 one-day matches against India. And Clive Rice was an amazing all-rounder. I'll be putting a video on him as well. And even Garth LaRue, who I didn't know much, but after I reached South Africa, I heard about him from a lot of friends, who was one of a terrifying fast bowler who had a lot of success in the World Series cricket as well. It's really sad that some of these great genius players lost out because of the ban that was imposed on South African cricket. And Eddie Barlow was he also played 5 matches for the World 11 against England in a tour, and he actually, in the 4th Test match at Headingley, he took a hat trick, and he also took another wicket. He actually took 4 wickets in 5 balls. And in that match, he had match figures of 12 wickets for 132 runs. And initially, it was acknowledged as an official Test match, but later it was stripped of its official Test status. Otherwise, that would have been Eddie Barlow's first 10-wicket haul in Test cricket. And in the World Series cricket, he was a very prominent figure as well. I mean, he captained the WSC Cavaliers team in the World Series cricket tournament. And they played a lot of non-super test matches. It was called the super test matches, and a lot of big players like Ian Chappell, a lot of players have always said that that is the best cricket that they have ever played in their life, because the quality of the players they had, it had the best players, the best of the best players around the world. And the World Series cricket was played with such fierce competition. And South Africans really did well. Garth LaRue, Mike Proctor, Barry Richards. Even Garth LaRue was excellent in the World Series cricket. I'll come back to it in his video. So that the World Series cricket, like I said, Eddie Barlow was the captain of the WSC Cavaliers team. So that was a big achievement for Eddie Barlow as well. And Eddie Barlow, I mean, he played together with Mike Proctor in that 1969-70 series. I mean, Mike Proctor and Eddie Barlow were the 2 big all-rounders. And I mean, if they had played a lot of Test cricket, he thankfully at least Eddie Barlow played 30 matches, and he had a staggering average and scored 600s and a double century and 2,500 runs. But if they had played like 80 Test matches or 80 to 100 Test matches, I mean, all these players would have had a lot of records in their name. I mean, Eddie Barlow was an amazing player. And it is also said that Eddie Barlow is that one player who took South Africa out of a defensive state of mind in cricket. It was said, that's what I've read that South Africa had a little bit of a defensive ploy early. I'm talking about early 60s, 50s, 60s. And Eddie Barlow is the one who changed that. And he was a very attacking player. And he had all the shots, and he was one of the legends. A lot of people talk highly of Eddie Barlow. Sorry, I mean, it is extremely hot here. I mean, it's like sitting in a boiling machine. But anyway, I'm really glad to give you Eddie Barlow. He did play a lot of first class cricket for Eastern Province, and he also later played for Western Province as well. He played a lot of first class cricket in South Africa, and he did play for Derbyshire, like I said, in the county championship. Eddie Barlow, he took 40 wickets in Test cricket, but he had the knack of taking a lot of wickets. They say, even though he didn't take too many wickets on paper, he's someone who every time he bowled, he was very famous for breaking big partnerships, and he had that golden arm, like they say, and that knack of taking wickets. So Eddie Barlow was a very, very valuable player in that team. Obviously, he was a very classy batsman with a lot of natural flair about him. And that 603 runs in that 1963-64 series against Australia with a double century at Adelaide obviously shows that he was a really power-packed player who really liked dominating, and who could make such an impact on a Test series. So that is my video on Eddie Barlow. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about Eddie Barlow, but so probably a lot of people don't know much about Eddie Barlow, because I'm sure everyone have heard about Graham Pollock, Barry Richards, Mike Proctor, but Eddie Barlow probably not as much as they should have heard, because he lost out because of the international ban that was imposed on South Africa. But Eddie Barlow was a leading all-rounder in the 1960s. I mentioned at the start of my videos, he was known as a prolific all-rounder at that time. And if he had played more Test matches, God knows what he could have achieved as an all-rounder with Mike Proctor and that amazing team that South Africa had in 69-70. I'm just repeating, I mentioned in one of my videos that Bill Lawry's Australian team was famous. They came to India, and they were one of the very few teams to win a series against India in India, which was regarded as one of the most difficult tasks in cricket. And then they straight away came to South Africa to play a 4 Test match series, and they were whitewashed 4-0, and all the 4 matches were massive defeats for Australia. South Africa really clubbing Australia, winning by 300 runs, 250 runs by an innings, 10 wickets, and Mike Proctor was there. Graham Pollock was scoring tons of runs, and Barrow Richards as well, and Ali Barker was the captain of that team. So this Eddie Barlow was part of that team. I mean, that was his last official Test series for South Africa, that famous 1969-70 series where South Africa whitewashed Australia 4-0. Anyway, that is my video for Eddie Barlow. Hope you have enjoyed it. I mean, you can check YouTube for some of his clips, and I'm sure you will savor his moments. Thank you, everyone. Take care, and God bless you.